Emily sat at the kitchen table, her gaze fixed on a letter she had just received. Her heart raced as she read the words on the court's letterhead again. The letter informed her of a court fine that needed to be paid urgently. The amount was exorbitant, something she, a single mother, couldn't afford in a million years. Desperation began to take over her thoughts. "How am I going to get this money?" she murmured to herself, feeling the weight of the world on her shoulders. Her daughter, Lily, was playing on the living room floor, unaware of the turmoil in her mother's mind. Emily knew she needed to find a solution, but every option seemed more impossible than the last. In the days that followed, Emily explored all possibilities. She tried to get a loan from the bank but was turned down due to her poor credit. She asked friends and family for help, but everyone was equally strapped for cash. She even considered selling some of her few valuable possessions, but knew it wouldn't be enough. The situation seemed untenable. One evening, while preparing a modest dinner, Emily and Lily shared an emotional moment in the kitchen. Emily tried to hide her worry, but her eyes betrayed the anguish she felt. Lily, with her childlike innocence, noticed her mother's sad expression. "Mommy, are you sad?" Lily asked, holding Emily's hand. "No, sweetheart, I'm just a little tired. Let's eat, okay?" Emily replied, forcing a smile as she set the table. But inside, she was falling apart. Finally, the day of the hearing arrived. Emily dressed as nicely as she could, wearing her most presentable clothes. With no one to leave Lily with, she took her daughter to the courthouse. The imposing and cold building seemed to reflect her own hopelessness. In the courtroom, Emily was nervous as she waited for her turn. When she was finally called, she approached the defendant's stand with Lily by her side. The judge, a man with a stern expression and piercing eyes, watched intently. "Ms. Emily Johnson," the judge began, "are you aware of the fine that needs to be paid?" "Yes, Your Honor," Emily replied, her voice trembling. "But I can't pay it. I'm doing everything I can to support my daughter on my own." Lily, standing next to her mother, tugged at Emily's dress sleeve, trying to get her attention. "Mommy, I'm hungry," whispered the little girl, but her voice echoed in the silent courtroom. The judge frowned and looked at Lily, who gazed back at him with large, hungry eyes. He paused, clearly taken aback by the interruption. "Your Honor, I'm sorry," Emily said, trying to manage the situation. "Ms. Johnson," the judge interrupted, "your daughter said she's hungry. Is that true?" Emily was at a loss for words, feeling her face flush with embarrassment. She didn't know what to say. "Yes, Your Honor," she finally responded, tears beginning to well up in her eyes. "We're going through very hard times." The judge looked at Lily again, and something in his stern gaze seemed to soften. He cleared his throat and, with a gentler voice, said, "Let's take a recess. Ms. Johnson, please follow me to my chambers." Stunned, Emily took Lily's hand and followed the judge to a private room, where an unexpected and revealing conversation was about to change the course of their lives. The courtroom fell silent after Lily's unexpected request. Judge Samuel, known for his strict and unyielding demeanor, felt his heart tighten at the child's plea. He looked at Emily, who was visibly flustered, and then back at Lily, whose large, innocent eyes awaited a response. Samuel took a deep breath and announced a brief recess. "We'll take a 15-minute break," he said, his voice softer than usual. "Ms. Johnson, could you please accompany me to my office?" Emily nodded, gripping Lily's hand tightly. As they walked down the narrow hallway, she could feel her heart pounding in her chest. When they reached the judge's office, Samuel closed the door behind them and motioned for Emily to sit. "Please, have a seat," he said, trying to conceal the tenderness he felt upon seeing little Lily clinging to her mother. "Thank you, Your Honor," Emily replied, sitting down. Lily settled into her mother's lap, still holding her hand firmly. Samuel sat behind his desk and looked directly into Emily's eyes. "Miss Johnson, I'd like to understand your situation better. What brought you here today?" Emily took a deep breath before she began to speak. Your Honor, I'm a single mother and I've been struggling to support my daughter. I lost my job a few months ago, and since then, I've been doing whatever I can to get by. I received this court fine and honestly, I don't know how I'm going to pay it. Samuel's eyes softened as he listened. Do you have any family who can help? Emily shook her head. No, my family is far away, and we haven't been in touch for years. I'm alone in this. The judge remained silent for a moment, reflecting on what he had just heard. Miss Johnson, I understand that your situation is difficult, but I need to know more about what happened for this fine to be imposed. Emily took a deep breath and recounted her story in painful detail. She explained how she was fined for a traffic violation while rushing Lily to the hospital and how her financial situation had deteriorated since then. Every word seemed heavier than the last. Samuel saw the sincerity in Emily's eyes and felt a growing compassion in his heart. Miss Johnson, your story is moving. I never intended to be insensitive to people's struggles, but there are rules we have to follow. Lily, who had been quiet until now, looked up at the judge with her bright eyes. Mr. Judge, will we have food today? Samuel felt a lump in his throat. Lily, I promise you will have food today. He stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the cloudy sky. Miss Johnson, I'm going to postpone the fine for a while. I'll make sure you get some immediate assistance. Emily couldn't believe what she was hearing. Thank you, Your Honor. I don't know how to thank you. Samuel turned to her with a gentle smile. You don't need to thank me. Just take care of your daughter. I'll do what I can to help. As Emily and Lily left the room, they both felt a mix of relief and uncertainty. Judge Samuel's unexpected generosity had given them new hope, but the future was still unclear. Emily held Lily's hand tightly as they walked home, determined to face whatever lay ahead. When they got home, Emily prepared a simple meal with the few groceries they had. They sat down at the table, and Emily looked at Lily with a gentle smile. We'll keep fighting, sweetheart. We have to believe that better days will come. Lily smiled back, confident in her mother's strength. At that moment, in his own home, Samuel reflected on his encounter with Emily and Lily. He knew something inside him had changed. Although he didn't know exactly how yet, he was determined to do more to help not just that family, but others facing similar hardships. Samuel couldn't shake the image of Lily, with her angelic and hungry face, asking for food in the courtroom. The judge, usually known for his strictness and impartiality, felt a tug at his heart. He knew he needed to do more than just postpone the fine. He decided to dig deeper into Emily's life. That night, Samuel sat in his leather chair in his home office, surrounded by documents and files. He called a friend who worked in social services and requested information about Emily. Minutes later, he received an email with her financial and personal history. As he read the document, Samuel was shocked by Emily's precarious situation. She worked 2 part-time jobs and still could barely make ends meet. The lack of a family support system worsened her condition. Margaret, do you have a minute? Samuel called out, addressing the living room where his wife, Margaret, was sitting and reading a book. Of course, dear. What's going on? Margaret replied, closing her book and looking at her husband with curiosity. I need to talk to you about a case that deeply affected me today, he said as he sat down next to her. A young single mother named Emily is facing extreme hardships, and her daughter Lily's request for food in court today was heartbreaking. I want to do something more for them. Margaret, a renowned attorney with a passion for social causes, listened intently as Samuel explained Emily and Lily's situation. There are so many families facing similar struggles, Samuel, Margaret pondered. I've been thinking about something we could do not just for Emily, but for other families too. How about we create a community support fund? We could mobilize the community to help those in need. Samuel's eyes lit up with the idea. That's brilliant, Margaret. Let's do it, he agreed enthusiastically. The next day, Samuel called a meeting with community leaders, including local business owners, nonprofit representatives, and influential figures from the city. At the meeting, he presented Margaret's proposal. We're here to discuss an urgent humanitarian issue, Samuel began. I met a young mother named Emily who is struggling to support her daughter. This situation is not unique. Many families in our community are facing similar challenges. My wife, Margaret, suggested creating a community support fund. With everyone's help, we can make a real difference. The community leaders listened attentively and started discussing ways to contribute to the fund. Some business owners committed to making substantial donations, while others offered support in the form of food, clothing, and job training programs. Meanwhile, Emily continued her daily struggle to support Lily, completely unaware of the actions Samuel and Margaret were taking on her behalf. Every day was a challenge, but she stayed strong out of love for her daughter, trying to hide her worries to avoid scaring little Lily. "Mommy, are you okay?" Lily asked one night, noticing her mother's tired expression. "I'm fine, sweetheart," Emily replied, forcing a smile. "I'm just a little tired, but everything will be okay." The community support fund quickly began to take shape. Donations poured in from all over the city, and the community's mobilization was a tremendous success. Samuel and Margaret worked tirelessly, coordinating efforts and ensuring the fund was managed transparently and efficiently. Margaret also started preparing a legal plan to help Emily. She knew that, in addition to financial support, Emily needed a solid legal foundation to secure a better future for herself and Lily. The dedication of Samuel and Margaret did not go unnoticed, and Emily and Lily's story began to touch the hearts of many in the community, inspiring a movement of generosity and solidarity that no one could have predicted. Thus, the small town came together for a greater purpose, demonstrating that even in the most difficult situations, compassion and empathy can light the darkest paths. The morning after her meeting with Samuel was a mix of hope and anxiety for Emily. As she prepared breakfast for Lily, she couldn't stop thinking about her conversation with the judge and the possibility of new help. However, she knew that no matter what happened, she had to keep fighting for her daughter. A few days later, news of the creation of the Community Support Fund spread through the town like wildfire. Samuel and Margaret, with the help of community leaders, announced the initiative at a public meeting. The community, moved by Emily and Lily's story, quickly mobilized to offer donations. In no time, the fund began to grow, bringing hope to many families in need. One sunny afternoon, Emily was at home trying to balance the bills when she heard a knock on the door. When she opened it, she found Margaret, Samuel's wife, holding a folder of documents and a warm smile. "Hello, Emily," said Margaret. "May I come in?" Emily nodded, surprised by the visit. "Of course, please come in." Margaret sat at the small kitchen table and began to explain the reason for her visit. "Samuel and I were deeply touched by your situation. We want to help in every way we can. I've brought some documents that can help you resolve your legal and financial situation." Emily looked at the papers on the table, feeling a mix of relief and disbelief. "I don't even know how to thank you." Margaret smiled kindly. "You don't need to thank us. Just accept our help. Let's start with the legal part. I want to make sure you have all your rights secured." With Margaret's guidance, Emily was able to review her legal situation and find ways to relieve her financial pressure. Additionally, Margaret used her network to help Emily get a new job with better conditions and a decent salary. The change brought new breath into Emily's life, and she could now see a more stable future for herself and Lily. Another significant change happened when Lily started attending a new school, thanks to the support from the community fund. The school provided a welcoming environment and a variety of extracurricular activities. It was there that Lily discovered her talent for music. Music classes became her favorite part of the day, and she quickly made new friends who shared the same passion. One afternoon, as Emily was picking up Lily from school, she was greeted by the music teacher, Mrs. Harper. "Emily, can I speak with you for a moment?" the teacher asked. "Of course, Mrs. Harper. Did something happen?" Emily replied, slightly worried. "Actually, it's something good," the teacher said, smiling. "Lily has an incredible talent for music. I'd like to invite her to participate in our spring concert. What do you think?" Emily looked at Lily, who was standing beside her, eyes shining with excitement. I think it's wonderful. Lily, do you want to participate? Lily nodded vigorously. Yes, Mommy. I'd love to. As Emily and Lily walked home, a sense of hope and accomplishment began to fill Emily. Things were finally getting better. However, one worry still lingered in her mind. The court fine that was still pending. Back at the courthouse, Samuel was also aware of this concern. He knew that despite all the help Emily was receiving, the fine still cast a shadow over her. Determined to find a definitive solution, Samuel spent hours reviewing documents and searching for a viable legal way out. Margaret, noticing her husband's determination, suggested a solution. Samuel, the Community Support Fund has already raised a significant amount. Maybe we could use it to finally resolve Emily's fine problem. Samuel thought about the proposal and, after careful consideration, decided that this would be the best way to help Emily lift the last major burden from her shoulders. Meanwhile, Emily continued to dedicate herself to her new job and support Lily in her school activities. Each day brought new challenges, but also new opportunities and moments of happiness. Emily knew there was still a long way to go, but with the support of Samuel, Margaret, and the community, she felt she was finally on the right path to a better future. Emily and Lily's story of overcoming adversity was far from over, but the solid foundation they now had, thanks to the generosity and support of those around them, promised brighter days ahead. On the day of the final hearing, Emily felt a mix of anxiety and hope as she prepared to go to court. This time, she wasn't alone. By her side, Margaret, the experienced lawyer and wife of Judge Samuel, provided invaluable support. Emily dressed carefully, choosing a simple yet dignified outfit, and made sure Lily was well-dressed too. As she looked at herself in the mirror, she whispered to herself, "Everything is going to be all right." When they arrived at the courthouse, Emily felt the weight of the formal and stern atmosphere, but Margaret's comforting presence by her side gave her strength. They were escorted to the courtroom where Samuel was already waiting, his expression serious yet welcoming. Judge Samuel began the session with his characteristic firm voice, but there was a softness in his tone that didn't go unnoticed. "Mrs. Emily," Samuel started, "this hearing aims to resolve the issue of the pending court fine. However, before we proceed, I would like to share some important information." Emily squeezed Margaret's hand, receiving an encouraging smile. Samuel continued, explaining how the establishment of the Community Support Fund had been a success. The community had mobilized impressively, raising enough funds not only to help Emily but also other families in similar situations. "Thanks to the generosity of our community," Samuel continued, "I am pleased to inform you that the court fine has been completely paid." Emily felt immense relief, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from her shoulders. Tears of gratitude welled up in her eyes. "Thank you," she murmured, almost speechless. "But that's not all," Samuel said, with a slight pause that heightened the anticipation in the room. "Margaret and I have discussed extensively about Lily's future. She is an extraordinary girl, and we believe she deserves every opportunity to thrive." Emily looked at Lily, who was holding her hand firmly, not fully understanding what was happening, but sensing the significance of the moment. "What do you mean?" Emily asked, hesitant. Samuel took a deep breath before making the announcement that would change their lives forever. "Margaret and I have decided that we would like to adopt Lily. We want to offer her a bright future, full of love and opportunities. Of course, this will only happen with your consent, Emily." Emily was stunned. Her mind raced. Although the idea of parting with Lily was painful, she knew this could be the best opportunity for her daughter. She looked into Margaret's and Samuel's eyes, seeing in them sincerity and genuine love for Lily. With a heart filled with hope, albeit heavy with emotion, she nodded. "If this means a better future for my daughter, I accept," Emily said, her voice choked with emotion. After the hearing, news of Lily's adoption spread quickly through the community. A celebration was organized to mark this new beginning. The central square of the small town was adorned with lights and balloons, and a feast was prepared with contributions from all the residents. Emily watched the party with an immense feeling of gratitude. Lily ran happily among her new friends, laughing and playing, while Samuel and Margaret watched her with loving eyes. The community gathered around Emily, offering words of support and affection. "You're an incredible mother, Emily," Margaret said, embracing her. "We promise to take care of Lily as if she were our own daughter, but we'll always make sure she knows how special you are." Emily smiled, feeling a peace she hadn't experienced in a long time. "Thank you, Margaret. I know she'll be in good hands." The party continued with music, laughter, and joy. Emily and Lily's story had become a tale of resilience, generosity, and hope. Through adversity, they found support and love in unexpected places, culminating in a turnaround that redefined their lives for the better. The union of a new family was celebrated by the entire community, marking the beginning of a new journey filled with promises and dreams fulfilled. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and watch this next story that's truly touching.